Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings, welcome to Hollywood Burbank, and welcome to this fantastic P-38 Lightning from Flyingiron Simulations. Just released. I didn't have any previous version of this. I think there was a version in P3D or FSX, so this is the first time for me, and what a gorgeous aeroplane it is too. Looks fantastic from the outside, really excited to see what it's going to fly like. And Flyingiron have put a lot into this. There's 9 different liveries, there's accurate simulations of the systems, there's a realistic flight model that's been created by the newest team member, the highly respected Got Gravel, I should say. All sorts of realism built into it, but also you've got things like a separate GPS, a 3D GNS 430 if you want it. There's a modern radio and transponder unit as well, so you can use this for kind of modern day flying as well, which is really what the simulator is all about. After all, it's not a combat simulation. And also they've got Flyingiron's UI tablet in there, which we'll have a look at as well, which just allows you to do a few things. Checklists ahoy! We've got checklists built into the sim. We've also got checklists in the manual, which is quite good to see. And it's important to say that this is the release version. As time goes on, there will be changes, but this is actually the release version. And what we're going to do is take it for a unrehearsed, unplanned first flight, see how she flies. Mistakes will be made. This is not a tutorial. This is about taking it up for the first time, seeing how it behaves, learning the hard way, and just having some fun. So I'll stop waffling. Let's get in the cockpit. Okay, so here we are in the cockpit of this beautiful aeroplane, and I am really excited to be flying this. I've only flown it a few times in IL2 Great Battles, just for a bit of fun, so it's good fun to be flying it in this sim. Before we do anything, let me just I've literally spent about 5 minutes in this beforehand, just getting a quick idea of where everything is, so that I don't take up too much of your time with me going, oh, what's that? So I just want to quickly show you over here the tablet, because this is a pretty neat feature. So what this is allowing you to do is, first of all, you can view your checklists, which is quite cool. I've got checklists printed off because that's just how I'm used to working. You've then got a page on your various different V speeds, just to remind you of where you are on that. That's quite handy as well. You've then got live data, which is telling you different parameters, different things that are going on. Again, that's kind of quite handy to have a quick look at if you want to have a quick ready reckoner of what's going on. You've got this, it's called autopilot. Yeah, don't know. And then you've got settings, and you can do various things. You can put your gun sight back in if you want to sit there and go. That was a terrible impression of a gun. That didn't come out right at all. You've also got a GPS. Now, I don't think that's such a bad idea. And I'll talk a bit more about that in the air if I remember. But you've got the option of having a GPS there if you want to. And then you've got realism settings, engine damage, and hypoxia. We're going to turn those on because that's how we do it. But I'll come back to that again more in the future. And then you've got this neat animation of popping it down there. So let's get rid of the yoke. One of the strange things about being in a sim like this is that I think it's slightly unrealistic to a real aircraft, is that your view really is obscured of the instrument panel, and you don't have that same kind of tactile feel where you can reach your hand forward under there and flick a switch. So as much as that does look rather cool, and they have done a nice job on that, I have to say, the shine, the textures, they've even got little thumbprints on there. Flyingiron have done a really nice job on that, but for the time being, we're just going to get rid of it so we can see what's going on. So I do want to keep this as short as possible. I just want us to get in the air, get flying, rather than me waffling. So I'm going to run through the checklist now. So canopy closed and locked. So let's put that there. We need to raise the window, which I seem to remember was there. There we go. And then we've got these 2 locks here. That was already locked, so I'm quite happy with that. Or maybe it does at the same time. Anyway, reason why it's got all these locks on it, interestingly, was when they actually developed it, they found that when they got it up to high speed and high G, the canopy kind of self jettisoned, so they had to redesign that, put that in there. So anyway, we've done that. Fuel reserve, fuel we want to set to reserve, and that is down here. I am being completely blind, and I'm not. There we go. There it is. Get it the right way. Sometimes you have to get used to the click spots. Get that dirty, great big labelling. It's quite handy having the labelling on when you're getting to know it, but it does get in the way. So fuel selector on reserve, fuel booster pumps off. Where did I see those? I did see them somewhere. Probably staring me in the face, as they always do. Oh, I quickly used that earlier on, by the way, to get rid of the drop tanks. Didn't really want the drop tanks on it, so turned that on and then used the master switch, and then used, I think it was left control alt or left control shift and D to jettison those. So we've got rid of those, but this still isn't finding the fuel booster pump, which should be staring me in the face. That's the start of their lights. That's priming. Where have you gone? It's right here, isn't it? Of course it is, idiot. Okay. So we've got those on. Oh no, we wanted those off, didn't we? Let's leave those off. And the throttles are cracked, so let's do that. This is the first time I've used dual engine settings on my honeycomb, so this will be interesting. Prop control governors fully forward. There we go. Mixture idle cut-off. Let's just quickly, yeah, that's in the right position. Carburetor air filter is required. So here in California, it's not too dusty and mucky, so we're not going to worry about having that in, and I'll just check that is actually off, which it is. Prop feathering switch is set to normal. I saw that over here. I did. There it is. So that's set to normal, and I might have a play with that in the air. Okay, and flaps are up. I'm going to just wind that down to aerodrome height for the time being. It's interesting, there's a wee bit of delay on that. That's quite nice. It's probably a bit realistic. Right, parking brake is on. Let's just check that. Now, have I put the parking brake on or off? I'm going to leave it there because that's where it was to start off with, and we'll find out. Right, let me set up. Okay, now just realised on the checklist it's got the run-up check before it's got the engine start, so let's just have a look at that. Engine start, we want battery on, which we've already done. We want magnetos to both. These are lovely fiddly little magneto switches. Now, that looked like they were already on. I'm going to move those back, because that should have been, I was assuming it was going to start cold and dark, but it obviously didn't. Battery on magnetos, both master magneto set to on, generators on. I saw them somewhere over here. There we go. And on, and then we'll close those, get them out of the way. Fuel boost pumps, we're now going to put those on. And this is the bit where I forget where they were, but they were down here, weren't they? Right, let's just have another look. There we go. Got those both on. Left engine primer as required, right engine primer as required, left engine, and sorry, I'm just reading ahead slightly just to get an idea of what we're doing. Okay, so let's prime them both now, and I saw that is there. So we want to, we don't want to dilute the oil, we want to prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and left engine energizer and starter. Right, where is the energizer? Okay, right start, right engage. Right start, right engage. So it's just the other way. Is that right? Left, left, right, right. Okay, so we'll try this. I think I know. So we're going to go. No, wrong one. Get out of it. We need to engage it first. Waiting for the pitch to stay as it is, which is there. Didn't do anything. Okay, let's try that again. Quick look around. Are we doing anything wrong? So left engine energize. Okay. Something not quite right there. Just wind that window down because I couldn't hear much firing up. Let's just have a quick check. I'm sure that magneto, both those magnetos are set to there. Let's just check we've not missed anything. Master magneto on, generators on, fuel booster pumps on. Yeah, okay, let's try that again. Doesn't want to go. Okay, so let's just have a quick look around. Make sure that we're not doing anything silly. We've got fuel on. Everything's looking good there. Okay, okay. Maybe give it a bit more prime. Let's try. There we go. It's nice and loud. That's the parking brake on now. Right, let's do the right. Be a bit quicker with that. Yeah, I think that's probably something I need to set up as a buttons or switches somewhere. we go. There we go. Right, T's and P's. Everything's looking good. A quick look around. Right, after engine start, compass switch on. Coolant shutters auto. Yeah. Or off. Yeah. Intercooler shutters open. Check that. Yeah. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So let's just have a quick look around. Get some lights on. We don't need the gun. We're going to put the pitot heat on. Oh, I forget some of my switches on my honeycomb do that. There we go, pitot heat on there. Okay. Let's just bring it down a bit. We are idling a little bit too much there, I think, to say the least. Let's have a quick look around, see what we've got. Okay, so let's taxi out, and then we can do our run-up check up at the top. See what the ground handling is like. Nice sound. One of the advantages in this, with it being a twin, it's got contra-rotating props, which means that there should be no torque effect. So it'll be very interesting to see how the notorious Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 torque effect comes into play on takeoff. Nice and steady. So you probably already guessed, this is a first flight. It's not a tutorial by any stretch of the imagination. Mistakes will be made. It's just me getting to know the aircraft for the first time, and you coming along and having a chat about it as we go. I think it's one of the best ways to learn, rather than spending hours reading a manual first, is to get an idea of what the aircraft is through having a quick look through the manual, looking at checklists, that sort of thing, trying to have an understanding of where everything is basically, and then taking it up, and you kind of learn the hard way, if you like. I find it quite useful because straight away it shows me where my weaknesses are. For example, with that starting there, the trying to energize and then go to starter using click spots with track IR was interesting to say the least. What's our temps like? Not too bad. Just watching the coolant temperature there. So we've got a wind 3 knots from 138. So nothing too big. Lots of space here. We've got nothing, no AI set up, so we're not going to suddenly get a 737 up a chuff. Let's just spin it round a little bit. into wind for what it's worth. Right, run-up check. So parking brake on. There we go. Prop levers fully forward, which they are. Increase throttle until 2,300 RPM, and then we're going to check the magnetos one at a time. We're going to check the prop control by pulling prop lever until 200 RPM reduction is achieved, and restore prop lever to fully forward, and we're going to check the voltmeter for 28 volts. So let's do that. So first of all, increase throttle until 2,300 RPM is achieved. And I quickly need to remind myself of where there it is. Hello. That's interesting. Okay, let's just pull back. I've got different behaviour in the engines. Let's have a look at that again. So I'm going to do left engine first. Okay, so it's saying up to 2000 RPM, but without going full chat, it won't let me do it. Okay, let's just have a think about that. Interesting. I cannot think of why that will not let me do it. Check increase throttle until 2,300 RPM is reached. We've got the prop fully forward. Have we got anything funny going on with the... anything else? No. 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 I don't see any reason why we should have issues there. So let's open it again. Now I opened the throttle a lot harder then, and it jumped up, which is strange. So let's, while we're up there, let's do a quick mag check. So, left mag, right mag, all good. Let's do the right engine. That's very interesting. Very interesting how suddenly that's changed. I wonder if that's something to do with the turbo. Okay, so left, right, that's good, all good there. And then what do we want to do? Check both magnetos, we've done that. Check prop control by pulling back prop lever until 200 RPM reduction is achieved. So I'm going to put them both back up to 2,300. And then what did it say? Pull back until we've lost 200. So we'll do that. Nothing happening at the moment. I am moving the lever, as you can see. There we go. Now we're seeing something. And then fully forward again. And check the voltmeter for 28 volts. I'm trying to remember where the voltmeter is. It's not a great idea to be running the engines like this. Our temperatures are going to be rising a little bit, but this is the kind of thing that you improve on as you get faster doing your startup checks. I'm not seeing the voltmeter. Okay, I'm conscious that we are going to be heating up. I'm just going to bring that down a little bit now. See if we can find this voltmeter first. There it is. Yeah, it should be at least, what was it, 28, and the ammeters are less than 50 charging. Yeah, that's fine. Good to go. Okay. Let's move on. So, we're going to take off, finally, after all that, I hear you say. Let's go. Right, so let's get the parking brake off. Just another check. Not expecting to see anything, but you never know. Let's line up. Now it suddenly occurs to me I don't know what the power settings are for takeoff because I've not looked them up. So what we'll do now is we'll have a quick look here and see if it tells us. No. Let's have a look. Takeoff speed 94 miles an hour. Okay, I'm just not going to take it too far. I think. I'll just take it easy. Seem to remember was manifold pressure. I think 40 was the maximum. So let's try that for takeoff. So I'm going to raise the power now while we're on the ground. Oh, listen to that. Let's go. Gear up. Oh my lord, that's beautiful. Let's trim. Let's come back on the power a little. Above 1,000, we're now going to switch to wing. There we go. Down those click spots. How beautiful. Well, I have to say that was one of the nicest takeoff experiences I have had in Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's certainly no weirdness going on with the whole torque effects that you see in some of the aircraft, and that was quite smooth. Let's have a quick look down here. Checking our temperatures. Coolant is a little high. I am coming back on that. Come back on the RPM. Los Angeles over there. Now, let's have a quick look. Coolant flaps are set to automatic. There, that's fine. What have we got here? That's set to full. On account of the way the temperatures are rising, I'm going to override and open them. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Okay, let's take a look outside. Now the first thing I notice is I've still got this window open like a complete idiot, so let's close that. That's not a very clever idea. Temperature's still a little on the high side. T's and P's otherwise are okay. Coolant temperature's just quite warm. Now we're not going to go too high, so we'll just leave it here. So one of the interesting things about flying warbirds in something like this is sometimes people say, well, why do you fly a warbird like this in something like Microsoft Flight Simulator or in P3D? You can't shoot anything down, you can't use the weapons or anything like that. And the reason is it's the same as why you fly any aircraft, and it's you know, there are people flying warbirds now in real life, and they fly them for displays. They fly restoration models, and they're flying them from A to B, or they're doing displays, and that's exactly what we're doing in this simulator, really. I use IL-2 when I want to shoot at things, and I treat the aircraft differently in that I won't be doing full startups or anything like that. I just jump in, start it as quickly as I can, and get off into the air and have some fun. Whereas this is more about learning the aircraft systems and flying it as you would a restoration aircraft in the modern world, really. That's how I fly it. I'm not saying that's right, by the way, I'm just saying that's how I fly it. And I enjoy flying warbirds more than anything else in this sim. I don't fly airliners. I like to fly GA as well, but warbirds is my my thing. That was interesting. Suddenly had a drop in RPM then. The engine coughed a little bit. Just checking our altitude. Oh, there goes the turbo. Hello. That was interesting. All sorts of funny things going on. And bleeps, which we don't like. So that was very interesting. I saved you the boredom of watching what was going on, but that wasn't the turbo kicking in. That was because the engine was actually overheating, and I'd forgotten with the Flyingiron Spitfire, it tries to simulate overheating by the engine cutting out, coming back, cutting out, And that's exactly what it was doing. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on. And what I had to do was, where it's got the oil coolant flap there, it was set to automatic. I had to put that in the open configuration, and that seems to have cooled things down a bit. So in a moment I'll put it back onto automatic, but for the time being we'll just cool it down. But I like that. One of the things I relish is when an aircraft kicks you in the backside because you're not flying it correctly, because that shows that it's something that you've got to learn and you've got to get right. And I would far rather it do that than be able to open everything full taps and then wonder why nothing is actually going wrong. So we're just coming over here. This is Santa Clarita. I'm just looking down there. It says Six Flags Magic Mountain. So I'm thinking we've got a bit of a theme park going on down there, but I might be wrong. Yeah, that looks like a theme park to me. Of course, one of the things with a two-engine aircraft like this is that the visibility is not particularly good for sightseeing. But there you go, this isn't a sightseeing aircraft, this is a warfighting aircraft. So let's start to open things up a little bit again now. Being very gentle with it, really. I'm not trying to open things up too much with 250 miles an hour, which is pretty good. We're just going to head over the mountains here now and head towards Edwards Air Force Base. Scenery in this is absolutely cracking. So I'm liking that. I'm loving that the aircraft gave me a kick up the backside for doing that wrong. And again, one of the useful things about the flight like this is that you learn the hard way. So our temperatures have come down quite nicely now. What I'm going to do now is put it back into automatic and we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on those temperatures and make sure that they don't rise again. A little bit of trim. Let's take another look outside, shall we? It did look from out there like this window was... It was. No wonder it's so noisy, idiot. I got the other window open as well. Right, that's a bit quieter now, isn't it? Well, at least we've had plenty of fresh air. What a plonker. Yeah, they've done a nice job on this. The textures all look nice. Attention to detail, nice bit of wear on it. Has a nice kind of lived-in feel. Ah, right. There he goes again. Our temperatures have risen all the way back up again, so let's open those again. You see, that's exactly what it did before. So let's open those back up. I'm going to bring the RPM back because the RPM is way too high. There's the engine cutting again, but now that we've opened our doors, we should start to see that that kick in okay. Power down a little bit. There goes the engine again. Again, that's because our temperature is too high. Interesting, if you look at the hydraulic pressure over there, now the engine has cut out, it's gone to 0. and when it cuts back in there, it comes back up again. So nice to see that that's modelled, even though we wouldn't really want to be finding it out this way. Temperatures are falling still. That's good. Just checking we're still on course. We're about to head out over the desert. Have a look here. You keep going. We've lost the engine again, and then it's back in. So temperatures now are pretty good. So I'm surprised that it's still cutting out, and I wonder if there's more to it. I'm sure there are people watching this now saying, "You idiot, it's because of..." Insert answer here. Let's just have another check that we have got these open. Come back. Come back. Oh, I do hate these. There we go. It's quite handy having those little tooltips, but sometimes they get in the way of what you're actually trying to look at. Come on. There we go. There we go. Temperature's definitely come down. I think one of the interesting things about an aircraft like this, which is obviously quite sensitive to the temperatures, is that you do have to keep on top of it. And here's me flying it for the first time and talking and not really paying enough attention to what I'm doing and running at too high revs, which isn't going to do it very good. It's certainly going to raise the temperature, the oil temperature. We seem to have stabilised now. Everything's looking good. She's running smoothly. Just buzz this place. This is General, I guess, William J. Fox Air Base, KWJF. One of the great advantages of this aircraft, an aircraft like it, that had guns in the nose, is that you are literally looking straight down at where the bullets are going. There's no convergence from from guns mounted on the wing, so it made life a little bit easier for them. Interesting. Now, the Lightning wasn't really known for its agility. Of course, it was designed to be a high-altitude fighter and run long distances protecting the bombers. It was a bomber escort fighter. It wasn't really a turning fighter. It was a slashing attack fighter. So the idea being you'd be above the enemy. You've got plenty of power to get up there in the first place. You've got good performance at high altitude, and you make a slashing attack on the enemy using your speed, unleash hell through the machine guns and the cannon in the nose, and then pull away and then come back and have another attack. And that was the whole idea of it. So you wouldn't necessarily want to get into a turning fight in one of these. And it's interesting that compared to the P-51 really almost pretty much replaced this. Far more numbers of P-51s. This was actually, compared to certainly the later P-51s, a sort of a slightly older design. It's quite draggy. The supercharger over there and the gun ports and the radiators caused a bit of drag, and they learnt a lot as time went on, as often happens during wartime, when needs must and all that. They learnt a lot that went into future versions of other aircraft. But this is the L, so this is one of the later models anyway. It might even be the final type, I'm not entirely sure, but it was definitely one of the later ones. So let's just have a quick look at everything, checking our T's and P's. They're looking okay. Nothing too crazy there. It's quite interesting, the sound in here. It doesn't feel like an aircraft that's going out absolutely full bore, and that's why sometimes you have to judge what the aircraft's doing by the instruments rather than just by ear. By ear, I might think, wow, I've hardly got any power on it, feels like it's coasting, and you'd want to open up the taps. But actually, again, we're slightly high on the manifold pressure there, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit. And we're doing quite nicely. We're doing a good speed. We're doing just over 250 miles an hour, which isn't bad. And there on the nose is Edwards Air Force Base. So while we're here, let's have a quick look at that. The old dive brake. Now for that we're going to need the yoke back. The thing with the Lightning was that in a dive it had a nasty tendency, in the early models, to suddenly you would lose control. What happened was the airflow over the wings actually went supersonic. The aircraft didn't go supersonic, but the airflow did. And what happened then was you suddenly found that you were unable to pull out the dive. So on the later models, they fitted this special kind of dive brake, which meant that you could actually, it didn't slow you down so much. It was more about pulling out. There's some interesting noises. So the temperature has gone up again, and I believe there it goes, kicking back in. Yeah, so I'm obviously doing something wrong. I must be doing something wrong for that it's being so sensitive to the temperature. I'm obviously not doing something quite right, so let's just put it, let's cut out again. Certainly hope it's not going to do that on approach. Temperatures aren't looking too bad. Okay, well, we've got power. Let's quickly go into the dive. Watching our speed, we don't really want to go above 400. And let's see what happens as we are. So, yeah, it's not too bad to pull out, but let's try there's the dive, and there we go. And actually, you can feel it forcing the nose up. That's really interesting. So yeah, it just gives you that nose up. It just gives you that that ability to pull out of the dive by disrupting the airflow, just to give you some nose up. Clever little thing, that. Okay, let's get rid of this again, and then let's have another look at the temperatures, because we are pretty much got everything open. Maybe a quick look around. Shouldn't really be having any temperature issues. Pressures are fine. Stabilised again, it's not cutting out. There's Edwards. So our wind is coming from 39, 16 knots. So let's just come back round here. Keeping an eye on those temperatures. Okay. Having just a quick look around, see what we've got. Make sure that nothing untoward is happening. I just want to check something there. What's that? Okay. So, let's do an approach. Right. Propeller control to 2,650. Reduce speed to 160. Supercharger red light out. I'm not sure where that is, but I think that potentially was those two lights there. Which they're out. Fuel tanks are on. Booster pumps we've got on. Let's come back down to 160. Where's our airfield? A little bit high. One of the nice things about this actually also is forward visibility is pretty good. It doesn't like landing the spit. So let's just bring it down. Back just to lose some more speed. Check the RPM back slightly. It's a little too high on the speed, but we can easily bleed some of that off. Incidentally, I've read that one of the other interesting things about this aircraft was that it had nice low speed handling as well, and it does kind of feel like that, I have to say. Okay, speed's now 160 below, so we open up the prop all the way. Just trying to lose a bit more speed. Well, let's have the gear. For some reason, when I printed these off, I've got no other landing checked, so we're just going to start feeding in some flap. Trim it out a bit, come back on the throttle slightly. I'm guessing we want to be around about between 80 and 100 over the threshold, or over the airfield fence, as they'd say. we've done here has gone a bit too low, so let's just put a bit of power on, keep the runway in sight. A bit more trim. Keeping an eye on the temperatures, we don't want any nasty surprises at the last minute. Right, let's go full flap now. And back on the power. Has a nice feel on approach. It's certainly not running on rails, and it does actually feel like it's passing through air. I'm trying to find a better way of describing it, but it doesn't feel GTA. It actually feels quite, you actually almost feel the air under the wings, and as you're flying it, you're kind of responding to what it's doing. You know, it actually feels like there's some real physics at play. Very interesting. Not a yeah, I'm kind of pre-programmed to do 3-point landings, and of course this is a nose wheel aircraft, so so that felt very weird in the last few moments, and it shouldn't do really. God, it's not rocket science. It's like a blooming Cessna 172 really. Yeah, very interesting. That was good fun. Yeah, a really nice aircraft to fly. Nice to land, just because of the way it feels. It doesn't feel like it's running on rails. It conversely doesn't feel absolutely crazy. It's a very nice flight model. I have to say, it's probably one of the best flight models that I've flown in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 so far. Yeah, it's nice. It is really nice. And I kind of know now, after doing this flight, what I need to take a look at and what I need to be careful of. And certainly the temperatures is something that I need to be wary of, because obviously wasn't doing something quite right. Let's go down here. Wasn't doing something quite right, and that's why I was behaving the way it was. Okay, we'll go over here. I thought there may be some hangars down there. Yeah, it's just a good way of getting to know an aircraft. It really is. Because by learning the hard way, it kind of cements it in your brain. Okay, so during that flight, I kept losing power. I've got still got the oil cooler flaps way open, but there must be something else that I was doing. My gut feeling is that I was flying with too high RPM a lot of the time. So that's something I need to look at. But the next step for me now, anyway, is would be to go away, look at the manual, look at the correct power settings. You know, learn how to do it the correct way, rather than just taking off with minimal knowledge. And then that way things will be a lot smoother. And that's what makes this sort of thing interesting, because you have to learn it, you have to master it, you have to practice it. You can't just jump into it and expect everything to suddenly happen the way it should do. It'd be boring otherwise, wouldn't it? Okay, so as I say, for some reason there I haven't got any kind of instructions. I think I must have printed it off wrong, so let's go for our checklist here. We haven't got that. Okay, so there's no shutdown checklist, so I'm just going to bye-bye. I'm just going to put the old parking brake on. Got no avionics to worry about. Oh, that was what I was going to say. Yeah, the little you know, the little GPS is an interesting thing, because quite a lot of modern reconditioned aircraft, restoration aircraft, will have a little GPS in it sometimes. So you know, it's not a bad thing that they've included that as a feature. I don't think it takes away from the aircraft at all. If you want to, you know, if you want to fly with a GPS, it just gives you the option to do it. And, you know, why on earth not? That's not a bad idea. I'm trying to remember how to close this window. Or open it, rather. Oh, of course, it was down there, wasn't it? That's nice. Nice change of sound there. Anyway, so let us pull back on the power. Go away. I do hate that. I do hate that. There we go. Mags off. Off there. And let's turn the fuel pump off. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I had on. Boom, boom, boom. That's okay. Off we go. Pitot heat, of course, is on here. And that is it. So thank you very much for coming along. I hope you enjoyed the flight. As I say, it is what it is. It's nothing sort of rehearsed. It's just a quick rough and ready, taking the aircraft up, seeing how it behaves, getting to know it a bit better, and hopefully you've seen a bit more about how this aircraft works. But overall, I think they've done a lovely job on it. Fantastic aeroplane. Anyway, thanks for coming along, and I'll see you again on the channel soon.